Aisha Abid, the ambassador for British from Pakistan. I welcome all of you to another installment of the British Writers in Conversation. Today, the British is bringing to you Ms. Javaria Farooqui, who is an excellent researcher and a celebrated educationist. Before I move on with the interview, I would like to tell my viewers that Ms. Javaria Farooqui is an assistant professor at the University of COMSATS, Lahore, and she has recently submitted her thesis in the University of Tasmania, Australia. She has also taught popular fiction module at UTAS, presented her research on Pakistani popular genre at the University in Sydney, and participated in international seminars on developing graduate profiles and time management. Her recent publications include an article on Khawateen, Shah and Kiran Digest, and a book chapter on romance and English medium schooling in Pakistan. Furthermore, she tweets about her research at Javaria Farooqui, and her upcoming research project focuses on the romance and horrors in Pakistani drama. She has recently given a talk on how could you fall in love with a human. It was for the topic of jinns in Pakistani dramas, and this entire session was recorded for Romancing the Gothic, which is an independent online education project run by British scholar Dr. Sam. So, thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Javaria. I really want to start by your thesis topic. So, it's a very interesting topic. What was the inspiration behind it?
The basic inspiration is that we have a very rich culture of reading Anglophone popular fiction. Anglophone popular fiction that is included mostly in syllabi, and most urban, growing up in an urban Pakistani center, you are familiar with the sight of all the Judith McNaughts and Julia Quains and other popular fiction authors, but we never talk about that, right? Just like we never talk about the old book culture that we have very much here. So my thesis is basically about, the thesis project is basically about reading Anglophone popular romance fiction in Pakistan, but it is also about the book history, books reach us. So I've slightly touched upon that as well. And of course, it is about our post-colonial identity as well. So yeah, pretty much that. There's a published chapter. I have published a chapter from my research, like the earlier part of my research. So it's available, I think, in a form, and you can buy the ebook, which is very expensive, but still it's available. Yeah, so probably your library can buy that.
Interesting, very interesting. Okay, so let us start from the beginning. How did you find the writer and the reader in you? Please walk us through your journey.
Okay, so I have been reading a lot, but I started from reading classic, not the popular romance fiction, but the popular classic English literature. So because of my orientation and my subject, it was that. And I started my career as a researcher quite late. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So the writer in me, as I was telling Aisha before, it's a very boring academic writer. It's not the kind of happening writers that Bridge has already talked to. So it's academic writing. And yes, my academic writing is very interesting. Why? Because my area of expertise, my forte is popular fiction scholarship, popular romance scholarship, which actually is, it needs to be recognized more as an area of research. And we have lots of interesting research. And I would recommend everyone to go through the Journal of Popular Romance Studies to just have a cursory look at the kind of research that's being published. And we do books over there as well, so it might be interesting.
I'm sure about that. Okay, so I am enthralled by your interest in Gothic romance. So
Yes.
tell me what made you trigger such a dark theme? And it's usually not an author's first choice. So why are you interested
Okay.
in that?
So Gothic romance, my interest in Gothic romance, honestly, it started when I started following Dr. Sam Hurst and her project, Romancing the Gothic. And that made me think about Pakistani horror dramas. And
Mhm.
Pakistani horror dramas, they focus a lot on my recent talk with Romancing the Gothic was about that as well. So we focus a lot on the aesthetic element. So unlike the Hollywood version of horror, we have very pretty jinns, and they have excellent aesthetic sense, and they'll come wearing the traditional dresses, they'll come wearing the jhumkas and all that stuff, and you'll usually there is the most pretty and happening actress would be hired for playing the role of jinn, and
I
it's
agree.
fun watching them, and there is a drama where there's a male jinn, and the male jinn appears whenever he's appearing in human form, he's always wearing a tuxedo. So I think that's a very interesting element of our Gothic horror dramas. So I basically my forte is finding interesting things about our culture, popular things are usually not considered subjects for serious study, but they are a subject for study.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, as a teacher and as a student. Okay, now this is a little bit of an extensive question.
Mhm.
You studied in Pakistan and you have studied abroad. So first, let me know what is the difference between the education? How is it different and how is it similar in terms of education?
Okay, that's a very tricky question. You really want me to answer that? Okay. Because that would be commenting a lot on us, right? The similarity is that, of course, being human, we all work with the same mode, and I have experienced it. I've been teaching, and then I joined the PhD program. I was teaching before that, and I was teaching during the PhD program as well. But you enter the student mode, you don't want to work. So I think that would be a common thing. It would be the regular rush of meeting the deadlines and the general frustrations. Everything is going to be the same. But yes, if we think about the research culture, if we think about the kind of environment that we are giving to our students over here, I would say that there is a lot of difference. A lot of difference, not because we don't have enough good brains, but because we have less, let's say, less state-based initiatives. And education for us, most of us, is a very private sort of an affair, right? Everyone studies in private educational institutes, and the structure of government schools, we need a lot of work. Yes, we are still not where the first worlds are. And it's very difficult that because you don't want to acknowledge it. But for instance, I'll just give an example of this. You are a student of Lahore College for Women University that is situated in a very happening part of Lahore, and you can afford to be there. There are many girls like you and me who cannot afford to be there. And if we are talking here on this platform, these resources, they are not within the access of a common Pakistani girl. So when I'm talking, if I have resources, if I've studied in institutions that are at par with the global institutions, then that doesn't mean that I can say that, we have everything. Yes, for a person with privilege, it would seem that we do have the right type of infrastructure and everything, but we don't. We need to, it's not within the access. Yes, education globally, there would be class differences, economic differences, but not as clear as they are over here in Pakistan. Yeah.
That's definitely very sad, but I'm glad that you touched this topic, talking about post-colonial literature. That's what we read, how the countries survive after being colonized. How do you see this? Besides education, we are also suffering from a lot more problems.
Right. So what I've in my project, the readers I talked to, and of course I found them through my group of friends and my connections, my network. So what happened was that the women, the theme of my research was that we are interested. The group of women I talked to and my friends, they were interested in the Anglophone Regency historical romances by Judith McNaught and Stephanie Lawrence and why? Because they related a lot with the Regency era, and they related with the system of patriarchy and Jane Austen vibes and all that stuff. They found it very familiar because of our scenes of weddings and our patriarchal culture and our values, our traditions, and it was very much like Regency England for them. So, and we do have fiction that has explored the same idea. You do have Lalin Sukhia's Austenistan, and you have Sonia Kamal's Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice in Pakistan. So my concern with post-colonial was basically how in the post-colonial Pakistan, we still have very divided societies, and there's still a difference between classes, obviously, and there's a difference between the education as well, just as you asked. So a person studying in, the minute you speak, it shows your educational institutes, right?
Definitely.
So for a person from lower socioeconomic classes, it would be very difficult to come up to a point where he or she or they or anyone would be able to, let's say, get position of prestige, power, and so on and so forth. It's not that we have those positions of prestige and power, but still, it's very different. So I've talked about class, and with reference to class, I've talked about post-colonialism.
Amazing. Okay, so I love the empathy that is right now in your words. I always admire that. As a teacher, because you are currently teaching in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So
yes.
How do you approach the class difference? I know you're teaching in COMSATS, but still, how do you approach teaching as a teacher in post-colonial Pakistan?
Yeah, and it's a very tricky topic because even if the class difference would be very much visible. So the university where I teach in, there are students from, of course, it's a mixed sort of, we have a mixed student body. So we do have students who belong to lower social economic classes, and we have students who belong to the middle classes, middle socioeconomic classes. Of course, there is a difference, and I think the best way, the way an institution works is that's some parameter, right? So if your institution is focused upon research and education, just like our institution is, now I think it's not that I'm saying that the chances of exploitation on the basis of class are less, but there would be always chances of exploitation on the basis of class. But still, at least in the classrooms, the atmosphere is not, what would I say? It's not like it would highlight the class difference. We don't talk like that. We don't, somebody cannot speak in the required, with a kind of, I mean, everyone is allowed to speak in whatever way they like, right? Of course, I'd be teaching English, so there would be, if I'm teaching English and if I'm teaching communication skills, there are certain course requirements that would sort of like compel you to talk in the language, because that's the way our society is unfortunately structured. And you cannot just, take out this language all of a sudden. And now we have the concept of world Englishes. So it's not that English, when you're talking in English, it's just the English, the British English. It's not British English. You're communicating in Pakistani English.
All right. I have a really, actually, it's one of my concerns currently. Mm-hmm. Since you're a teacher yourself, we are not seeing a lot of thesis work. We are not seeing appreciation for the popular fiction that is, and because I have personally read some popular fictions which are really good, and in comparison, I have read some classic books which do not have anything to read about, but still we do pick classics over popular, and that is a barrier that we have in Pakistan. Yes. What do you want to say?
It's a barrier that I think everywhere there would be this barrier, right? Popular is very hard to recognize. It's very much out there, but accepting popular is in direct opposition with literature, direct opposition of literature with a capital L, right? So there would be popular with a small p, and there would be literature with this capital L. So literature would always be about prestige and everything, and popular would be about popular. It would speak to you. It would be closer to your heart, and it would be something that everyone would understand, right? So, and popular is usually where all the money is, right? So our Khawateen, Shuja and Pakiza, if somebody would ask you about Urdu literature, you would never talk about Razia Bhatt or any of the writers who are writing in Khawateen and Shuja and Pakiza, right? Because they would never be literature for you. It would be, you would like to show something that is very literary, and you would Khadija Mastoor probably, but not Razia Bhatt. So acknowledging Razia Bhatt because she has, and the case against popular fiction would be that they write in bulks, and there would be so much of it. And of course, I can go on talking about the merits of popular fiction, why it is important, and why we cannot just gloss over it. We cannot just say that this is this does not have enough merit. So it's time, as I told you about the journal, and I've told you about the research that is being done in the area of popular romance specifically, that it is worth serious research. We are doing a serious research on it. There are many whose PhD projects are on romance.
So that actually brings me to my next question. As a writer in today's world, and if you have that kind of crazy aesthetic sense and you want to be a part of literature, because I think everything which is, we've been giving out books which are after 2000, and we've been constantly been rejected that this is popular fiction. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about this. How do students, how do writers actually, with an interest in literature, with that aesthetic sense and with that literary germs in them, how do they come in front? How are we going to encourage them then?
Okay, so I think there would always be this problem, and I've repeated that so many times in this talk today. But yes, I think if somebody has written an excellent work, they are sure about it, they know that they have done something. It's a part of their brain, it's a part of their heart. So what they can do is that they can keep on finding the right publishers. Not publisher, just like it's more like finding a PhD supervisor or finding a place where you go for your PhD. You are going to be committed to a place for like, let's say 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and you don't want to make mistakes. So you keep on trying to find the right place for you. Similarly, you keep on trying to find the right place for your manuscript, for your work. And do believe it's not that you're going to write something today and it is going to be published tomorrow, right? You would need to wait, and that itself is a very, let's say, yes, it's a tricky time. Just like I would write an article and then I would really need approximately a long wait usually. So if you have written an article, it would take 1.5 years usually to get published in a good journal. So similarly, you'll need time to find the right publisher, but you will find ways. And nowadays there are the debates on self-publishing. So I think you can go for that as well. And it's the age of ebooks. I think that we can explore that. I'm not an expert, and probably some author who is being published across the globe, those authors, they can tell you better about it. But yes, I think that there would be definitely options for young authors, specifically young girls who are struggling to, find a venue for exploring their identity, their dreams and their wishes in the kind of close-knit patriarchal system that we have over here. I think that there would be options for them. Definitely. There are.
I think those are some good words of encouragement for all our writers out there. Okay, so you have been coming from a lot of platforms where they have been publishing, and even as an educationist, you come from a lot of platforms. What do you think about the Bridge as an initiative to connect writers and those emerging young talent from across the
globe? I think it's linked to your last question, right? So when we are looking at young authors and talent and potential and everything, there are platforms. For instance, Bridge is very much there. And if somebody has written a work, they can definitely connect with Bridge, with this platform, and find venues for airing their views, for letting go of inner creativity and so on. Definitely. So it's an excellent initiative, as you had been talking about before. Yeah.
Alright. So in your journey, I want to know more about you generally as a person. So in your journey, tell us about some of the lessons that you've learned, some of the things that you've picked up and you would like to share with our viewers.
Okay, so I don't know if the audience of this talk is going to be young women who are unsure of what to do. Then I would like to share that being unsure and being annoyed, being frustrated by the system, not finding ways, not finding avenues, not finding paths, not finding, let's say, the ladders, what would I call it? The right way to do things, etc. There would be questions for us. And of course, we are always struggling for our identity and how to maintain our images, keeping in mind the context of Pakistan, right? So I think what I've learned is that you can achieve a lot with more patience. So yes, it is okay to be worried about things. It is definitely okay to feel frustrated, but at the end, I think what actually pays off is organization of your mind. If you try to be an organized person, you try to look for positivity in things, somehow you'll start finding it. It's weird, it's uncanny, but if you are looking for positivity, usually you do end up finding it. It's a very naive, it might be considered naive, it might be considered overly optimistic, but yes, I do believe in that.
Definitely. So we get what we attract. So,
Yeah.
okay, so tell me about the works that are coming. What are you currently working on, and what can we
Okay.
see in your future?
I'm really not working on anything right now, but I am working on my next article, fingers crossed, is going to be on Pakistani Eid dramas. Yeah. The Eid dramas that we have over Ramzan, so I've taken two samples, and one is Chupke Chupke, and the other one is Suno Chanda. Suno Chanda has two seasons, and Chupke Chupke is one season, I think. So now the Eid plays, they start from the 1st of Ramzan and they end on the 3rd day of Eid, right? So they're sort of like, just like you have in the Anglosphere, you have the Christmas movies and Christmas dramas, not dramas, Christmas movies. So over here we have Eid dramas, right? They are our festival thing. They connected to, their timings are connected to the fasting in Ramzan, and of course the festivity of Eid. So I'm working on that, and the kind of family romance that we have, the kind of cousin romance that we show in our dramas, and how interesting and how unusual it would be for the Western art to know that, yes, the first choice of matrimony in Pakistan still is the aunt's son, the pupo ka beta.
Definitely, I agree. All right, ma'am, before I let you go, would you like to extend anything for our youth, for our emerging writers, anything that you would like to say?
I think I'm only in a position to comment for the emerging, make one small comment for the emerging researchers in the field of popular romance, or in the field, in any other field. We have this trend in Pakistan to pay for, the emerging trend in Pakistan is to pay for publication of research in international journals. And I would really, really like to advise all the young researchers not to pay for publication. You should be aiming for, let's say, quality publications, and it will take time, and you can start early and do lots of research rather than paying someone for it. Don't pay anyone.
Thank you very, very much, Ria. It was splendid to talk to you, and I'm sure that our viewers have enjoyed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So in the end, before we sign out, I would like to remind my viewers that Bridge is an absolute platform that is striving really hard to connect writers all over the world. There are multiple challenges and writing competitions that are going on currently on Bridge. So please visit our website, www.bridgethenations.com, and stay tuned for more interesting conversations.